Right then, this is now my fight prediction for Gervonta Tank Davis versus Frank Martin, which goes down this Saturday. And I cannot wait for this fight, and I cannot wait for this whole event as well. Two of my favorite fighters are on the card, two of my top three, David Benavidez and Tank, are fighting on the same card. Two of my top three favorite fighters right now. Can't wait to see them both in action. But yes, I predicted my the David Benavidez fight yesterday. Now I'm predicting Tank versus Frank Martin. This is going to be an interesting fight, and I think Tank Davis wins. It's interesting. No, I'm intrigued, but I do think Tank wins this fight. I don't think it'll be all too difficult for him either. I don't, and I'm going to break it down. I think Tank's too clever for him overall. I think he's too clever, and yes, obviously coming to his fight, both guys are southpaws, so neither guy have that kind of stance advantage over each other. Both guys southpaws coming into this fight, but Tank's the much smarter guy in my opinion coming into it, and I think Frank Martin gets caught. And Tank's pointed this fact out quite a bit in the way. He pointed it out in the press conference he had with Frank Martin when this fight was first announced. Obviously, Frank Martin hates body shots. You always see Frank Martin overreact when he gets hit hard to the body, or when his opponent's going to the body. We saw it against Moranes. We saw it when he fought. Artem as well. It's like Frank Martin always massively reacts when he gets hit to the body, or if he can see an opponent going to the body, you always get a big reaction out of him whenever his opponent's faint to the body, or whenever he gets hit to the body. He doesn't take them well at all. And yes, body shots, they're the worst possible shot you can get hit with in boxing. But either way, though, he doesn't take them as well as what other real top guys do, in my opinion. And I think that's clear to see. Tank's counters are so accurate and on point as well. He'll catch Martin when Martin's coming in. And what Tank does really well as well is that he's able to control his fight. He's able to control the fight well with his lead hand. And he's going to be able to, in my opinion, be able to lure Martin in to a few counters. And Frank Martin, what he does a lot of the time is he drops his lead hand a lot when he's going in for attacks. I've always seemed to notice that about Frank Martin. Whenever he's going in, leans in a bit and drops his lead hand, and he can be there to be countered. And when you're fighting someone like Tank, you need to be really defensively sound. But at times as well, though, Frank Martin can be pretty patient. So you never know. I think the first few rounds are going to be pretty boring overall, because I think they'll both be waiting for each other to make a move. But overall, I think Tank will eventually be able to figure him out, and Tank will eventually be able to find ways to be able to bring him in with that lead hand, dictate the pace for that, bring Frank Martin in, and he'll be able to counter him, in my opinion. Tank's going to be going to the body a lot in this fight as well, in my opinion. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think Frank Martin's a good overall boxer, to be fair. Frank Martin puts his combinations together really well. He can be quite quick with his hands as well. Frank Martin got decent footwork as well. But overall, I think Tank's just going to show a different level here, in my opinion. And another big thing as well, I see Frank Martin losing this fight. I see Tank probably stopping in mid to late rounds. And then after this fight, I think Frank Martin's going to do a Billy Joe Saunders and possibly not even come back. I think Tank Davis could end Frank Martin's career here. Not because, it'll be an absolutely brutal knockout. I don't think it'll be brutal, but he'll probably stop him. He'll probably have him down. It won't be he'll be fully up. Frank Martin, I don't think he'll be fully unconscious, but he probably won't be able to get up for a 10 count, or it'll be a stoppage. But yeah, I don't see Frank Martin coming back. I just see him being one of those guys taking a defeat. And, he'll either take a year, a year and a half out, or Frank Martin will just never come back after this. I think Tank's going to really show him levels here, and he's going to really, send Martin into reality overall, to be fair. I think Tank's just too good. Tank's just so ridiculously accurate. And Frank Martin, he's there to be countered. Frank Martin is there to be countered. We've seen this in previous fights, especially in that fight against Artem in his most recent fight. Martin can be there to be countered. He really can. He's there to be hurt. He's there to be countered. He's very vulnerable to the body as well. Tank is very clever with his feints, and he's going to be able to confuse Frank Martin a lot in this fight as well. He really will be able to confuse him. Tank's a different level overall. He can control the fight well with his lead hand, and Tank's good with setting up shots with his jab as well. And overall, Tank's gonna be waiting for Martin to throw. He's gonna be waiting for Martin because at times, Frank Martin can eventually come in with some good, solid, unpredictable attacks which you're not expecting. But Tank's gonna be fully prepared for that though, and he's gonna eventually be catching Martin with some even better combos and even harder shots. Because let's be real, I think Tank's the best at lightweight in my opinion. 100%. I think Tank's the best at lightweight. I think. And I think he's a different level to Frank Martin. I really do. I think he's just too clever. And I think Tank's also the big, he's the most accurate fighter at lightweight. And I think Tank's also the hardest hitter at lightweight as well. You don't want to get hit flush by Tank Davis with an unpredictable counter shot. And that is what Frank Martin can be there for. But overall, yeah, I see the first few rounds being a little bit cagey, and I see both of them being patient, trying to wait for their attacks. But I feel like Tank will be able to eventually force Martin by opening up, eventually trying to tee off in his guard with the jab, try and bring him in with that lead hand, catch him on the chin with some big shots, try and open up, try and find ways to open up the body of Frank Martin as well with all of his, really smart feints. And yeah, Tank's eventually going to finish him. I don't see Martin causing too much of a threat for Tank. And overall, I think Ryan Garcia is a smarter boxer than what Frank Martin is. And we saw what Tank was able to do to Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia is a different level to Frank Martin, in my opinion. I think Pitbull's probably a different level to Frank Martin as well. Rolly probably not. If we're looking at Tank's, biggest wins, Rolly's probably worse than Frank Martin. I think Frank Martin's probably smarter than Rolly. Either way, though, it's going to be a fascinating fight, this one. Frank Martin's definitely got possible ways to win, but I think it'll be difficult. I think, to be fair, Frank Martin needs to. The way Frank Martin wins is, he needs to get Tank on his worst possible night. And you never know as well. Tank's been out for over a year, so inactivity could play a factor. I feel like that's a chance that Frank Martin has coming into this fight. Tank's been pretty inactive recently. He's been very inactive. He last fought against Ryan Garcia on the 22nd of June. So, Tank's been inactive. I think Martin fought Martin's not exactly been active either. I think he fought in August or something. So he's been out 9 or 10 months as well, though, Frank Martin. But Tank's been a little bit more. He's been more inactive than what Frank Martin's been, though. But either way, though, I think Tank's going to come back. He's only going to look better than what he did, though, against Ryan Garcia. I feel like we're going to see a real good, solid performance here from Tank. But yeah, as I said, it will take a few rounds for him to figure Martin out. Martin, Frank Martin can take a bit of time to fully figure out. And Martin, I think, is going to come into this fight, and he's going to be as smart as possible. But he's not going to be smarter than Tank, though. He's going to be there for body shots. He's going to be there for counters. And after this, I don't see Frank Martin coming back for a long time anyway, or he might even stop. I just see him being one of those guys. If I'm being honest, I think Tank's going to put a right schooling on him in the end, and it's going to be convincing. I don't see Martin I don't see him hurting Tank. I don't see him causing him any issues here. I don't think Tank's going to get caught with anything stupid, really. And if he does anyway, Tank's got a great chin anyway, though. 100%. Tank's got a fantastic chin. And, Tank would take shots to get to where he wants to be. That's the big thing as well, though. Tank can see shots coming really well. And, he's Tank's happy to take some big shots sometimes. He is, and he just reads his opponent so well, and he's always eventually able to get those counters in. But yeah, Tank's going to be able to dictate the pace from the off, in my opinion, until it ends. I think Tank's levels above Frank Martin if you just look into it even more. Frank Martin, in a way, at times he looks like he's very vulnerable and can be built for tank style. So yeah, I don't, at times Frank Martin can also leave his chin up high as well. He can drop his hands down, especially when he's trying to come in with some unpredictable attacks. But Tank will eventually catch him. And that's the thing as well. Tank will always be able to dictate the pace so with his feints. And yeah, it's not going to be a nice night for Martin at all. I'm saying Tank wins. I'm gonna say Tank gets him out of there. I'm gonna say round 8. That's what I'm gonna say. Tank round 8. Anyway, thanks for watching the video, Keels. Speak to you on. I think Tank probably drops him twice as well. I reckon Tank drops him to the body, then eventually Martin probably gets up, and Tank drops him again with a good counter shot probably later on. But I think Tank would drop Martin earlier on, probably like round 4 or something, and eventually get him out there in the 8th again with another where he drops him again, and then Martin doesn't get up. Anyway, I'm ending this video here. Thanks for watching the video, King. I'll speak to you in a bit. Thanks for watching.